friends, Cathy Maes, the executive director at Loaves Fishes, and Ekta Prakash, from the executive director of CAPI. You will hear from both of them in just a minute here. And I'd like to give you a little bit of an update before we open it up. Last week brought a lot of challenges our way. And you all are seeing what we're seeing. Unemployment insurance claims and cases of the coronavirus are rising, with almost 250,000 Minnesotans applying for unemployment last week and almost 600 COVID-19 cases reported. Unfortunately, we know these challenges will continue to come our way, but Minnesota's emergency food system has been working tirelessly to help make sure our neighbors in need are fed during this really rough time. Second Harvest Heartland has been working with our partners across Minnesota to distribute 1.3 million pounds of food last week alone, which is 350,000 pounds above where we were last year at this time. We're quickly adapting to the crisis, changing how we deliver food, including distributing 13,000 emergency food boxes last week. Those are shelf-stable food boxes that we can provide more safely to our neighbors. More boxes are on the way, thousands more boxes. We're also supporting Minnesotans who are facing reduced hours or job loss and are newly eligible for the SNAP program. That's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as food stamps. Our SNAP outreach team has helped sign up Minnesotans in need so they can begin receiving benefits right away. And referrals to our SNAP outreach team have doubled since March 13th, which matches the numbers that the Minnesota Department of Human Services is seeing statewide. We see SNAP as such a critical piece of this response. And it's really important to remember that for every meal that Cathy, Ekta, and all of our wonderful partners provide, SNAP provides 9. So SNAP provides 9 times the number of meals that we all do together. And we know that in the coming months, this program will be more important than ever in keeping people safe and fed. But more than that, SNAP is a source of stability at a time when nothing else feels secure for these families. And we encourage anyone who's listening out there who needs help connecting to SNAP resources to go to toharvest.org to get connected with our team who can help you navigate the process. So we have more progress to report. We've helped get 100 local food service workers back working in kitchens and earning income. And together they've helped put out 11,000 meals in the community through Minnesota Central Kitchen. We're adding a new kitchen this week, which will produce up to 3,000 more meals a day to help meet the growing demand for food assistance. And by the first week in April, we will be producing 30,000 meals a week provided by Minnesota Central Kitchen. And I know Cathy Maes is going to talk a little bit more about what she's seen on the ground and how Minnesota Central Kitchen has helped bolster their efforts in the community. The 30,000 meals a week is just a portion of what Cathy and her team provide, but it's a really important portion of the work they're doing right now. And she'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Before I hand it off to Ekta, I just want to say a huge thank you to my colleagues in this hunger relief effort. We are all leading organizations that are in the midst of a crisis and keeping our teams going and keeping the community fed all at the same time. And I know we all are keeping ourselves going too by staying in touch, but I just want to give a huge shout out to the leadership that I am seeing across our community to step up in just an unprecedented way to meet the growing need that we're seeing. So thank you, everyone. And I think it's important for the community to know that. So with that, I would like to invite such a critical partner in this work, Ekta Prakash from CAPI, to discuss her view from her organization at this point, which is a community food shelf.
Thank you, Allison, Second Harvest Heartland, and all the partners for inviting us at this live time and moment. I just want to, I think we feel grateful to be a partner with Heartland and many other partners, City of Brooklyn Center, and many volunteers and our staff. So I think that's very important. Before I dive into my conversation here, is to say thank you during this crisis. I think that's, everyone is a leader and a hero in its own way. And I think we just want to stand with everyone together. CAPI, things have been changing and shifting within our organization too during this crisis. One of the most important things is our staff, our volunteers, and everyone is stepping up. So just a little background on the organization. We are in Brooklyn Center and Minneapolis. Our food shelf provides services to 800 head of household each month. But during this crisis, we are seeing an increase. We are seeing new families, new individuals, new groups are coming to our food shelf. And our goal is to make sure we are open to every community at this time. It is not about where we are, it is about how we can be accessible. We are getting phone calls from different suburban and greater Minnesota because there are other food shelves who don't have the supply. And at this time, I think what the beauty of the work is, within 24 hours, like other organizations, we have to shift how we work. And I think there was a lot of work behind the scene, talking to Second Harvest, talking to other partners, and I might get a little emotional here because it's giving me like a moment where we want to make sure every family has food in their house. The pantry is going to be full, but I want to make sure every family, and that's the goal here, that they have food enough for their family. We are not stocking up our pantry. We want to make sure there is enough for the family. And I think that's the messaging we want to give out to the community. So what we have seen in recent year, in weeks, is our emergency pickups have increased. In one day, we had 22 new pickups. We are getting a lot of calls from senior facilities. We are using volunteer drivers, and there's a huge need. Still, there are many seniors who are limited English, and they are a little vulnerable about how they can access the food shelf. And we want to make sure our staff, our community are safe at this time. There is, just like healthcare, we have needs for masks, we have needs for other resources. I think the safety is number one for the community and our volunteers and our staff. So there has been a huge demand for food. And I think the most important thing is making sure that, everyone has that access. We have open to everyone in the community. So, we are not just serving the Brooklyn Center, it's open to everyone. So the challenge at the same time is how do we stock up food in the food shelf? And Second Harvest is working really hard to making sure we have the boxes available to give out to the community. We doing the same like other food shelf, like curbside pickup. That's a new model right now that's working for everyone, making sure there's no, too much gathering happening at the food shelf. But it requires a lot of 24 hours within the time and shifting everything. I think that's a lot of labor behind the scene. I want to say grateful to our volunteers, to our staff, to our team. I think the basic need has increased. Number one is the food. I think there's a lot of fear and anxiety, and the community that CAPI serves, the large immigrant refugee community, I think the biggest fear is, people who are undocumented, people having fear of immigration. So, how they're going to access public benefits. We might see more people coming at the food shelf. So we want to make sure the best utilization of the resources and talking to partners and what we can do at this time. And I think we stand together with all our partners in this moment.
Thank you, Ekta, and thank you everyone for being here. My name is Cathy Maes, and I'm the director of Loaves Fishes, Minnesota. And we are in true partnership with Second Harvest Heartland. And we stand with this together, making sure that food is out for the folks that need it the most. We have been around for 38 years. We actually came into existence when the state and the counties defunded the mental institutions and people went to the streets, and we became their free restaurant. That's what we were born on. In the last few years, we have changed our work. We are not only a free restaurant open to the public, we also redistribute food to many other nonprofits, in fact, almost 80 of them. On the weekends, we go out to the streets and we redistribute more food to people that are living in that homeless population. We serve 11 counties. We're all the way up in Aiken and down to Marshall, and then a lot of our work is right here in central Minneapolis and St. Paul in the suburbs. Our work has really changed in the last few weeks. We have gone from a sit-down dining experience to almost a drive-through where people drive up and we hand them to-go meals, and that has really changed our work, and I think will influence future work for us. We typically, get ready, we typically serve about 30,000 meals a week. And the numbers came in yesterday. In the last 7 days, we served over 114,000 meals. 114,000 meals. We could not have done that without the Minnesota Central Kitchen. It just would not have happened because we've had to decrease the amount of volunteers that can come into our kitchens, from 12 to 13 down to 3 or 4, just to keep our staff safe, to keep our volunteers safe. And with Chow Girls, an amazing partner, and now Optum Kitchen, it's incredible how people are stepping up. I want to just share with you, I picked up the phone this morning and a Medtronic chef was calling in and said, I have yogurt and I've got fruits and vegetables. And I said, how are you doing? And he said, not well. I said, well, tell me more. And he said, typically on any given day, they serve around 2,000 meals and they're down to 47 and they've had to lay off all their staff. And I said, we should talk because I have staff that needs help. And so I told him what the numbers look like, and it was just a really sobering moment for both of us. How can people help? Well, this increased work costs money, and I will not be shy about that. We are seeing increase in gas, increase in food, increase in disposables like the to-go containers. Just remember, when you ask for a to-go container at a restaurant, it costs a lot of money for that restaurant. And we're having to pay more for time and a half just to keep up with the pace. Our phones, like Ekta's, are ringing off the hook. And it is really hard for people to say, I need help, and people to enter into this arena of food insecurity. And that's really the heart right now of what we're seeing. And I think, as Allison said, the leaders out there are doing amazing work. And every single day is a fluid new decision, how to change what we're doing, how to work together and make certain that no Minnesotan is hungry. So with that, I will turn it over to the better leaders of this group.
No, there are no better leaders. And thank you, Ekta and Cathy. I think, as you said, Cathy, these last few weeks have been really sobering for everyone. As we've seen the demand for our services and the need for food and so many other things increase immediately and exponentially. And I think part of our goal here today is to help explain that to the people who are tuning in with us. What Cathy said too is that there are ways to help. All 3 organizations need financial resources. We will post those in the comments, links to all of us. We are all in this together and trying to meet this need, but it absolutely is costing more money than we have in our regular budgets. And so we'll post links to all of our organizations there so you can dive in and help. And one final note from me, I've been tweeting a lot about our team here at Second Harvest Heartland, and I know Ekta and Cathy have been talking about their teams too. I am so proud of not only this community, but the team at Second Harvest Heartland. They motivate me every day. They save me from my own tears every day, which is hard sometimes. But the warehouse workers and the drivers are in overdrive. They are in the highest gear that we have. And they feel this mission, our mission to end hunger together is just, it is the fire in their bellies as they come to work every day. And they are so proud to serve this community, and they are doing such wonderful work. That includes the food rescue drivers too, who are having to adjust every day to make sure that excess food gets to Minnesota Central Kitchens and other places, so we can distribute those meals to Cathy and her team, and just so many people behind the scenes. They continue to make this operation work day to day, and we're just so helpful, so grateful. And really, we stand here to help this community. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I think Elizabeth from Second Harvest Heartland is going to lead us through some questions.
Sounds good. Thanks, Allison. Thanks, everybody. We received a question from Alex in Edina. What's something in Minnesota who's looking for food help right now can do to get that help? Cathy, would you like to tackle that one and kick us off, please?
Sure. Well, there are lots of avenues to go through. You can go through United Way 211. Hungersolutions.org has great resources. You know, it's really finding hunger as close as possible to your location. Our website is chock filled with every 37 locations of how you can get a meal. I think that those are some great ways to go about it. We also, I didn't mention, but we still need volunteers. We have a way to get people through the system safely, and we rely on volunteers all year round. And particularly right now, we need new volunteers.
Yeah. And I wonder, Elizabeth, if I can add on to that. That's, I mean, so important. We need financial resources, volunteers. Go to Hunger Solutions to find help. I think also if you come to twoharvest.org, really important to figure out if you are eligible for SNAP benefits right now. That will provide that stability. That program is designed for periods of crisis like this. And so that's twoharvest.org, and we'll connect you with SNAP resources.
Great. Thanks, Cathy and Allison. This next question is from Genevieve. And she's asking Cathy and Allison, how do you see Minnesota Central Kitchen making a difference? Are you already seeing positive results? And what are you seeing behind the scenes?
Well, Allison and I were together last night at one of our locations, and how this is making a difference. I'll just get down to the nitty gritty, is that we have a chef on site, a coordinator who would be making that meal. And last night was an amazing meal of rice with chicken and a mushroom sauce, a fresh salad, fresh fruit, and sauteed vegetables. It would have taken him hours and hours to make that by himself without the volunteer teams that we typically have. And so Chow Girls in the Central Kitchen really have stepped in, and they become kind of the lifesaver for us. That it was an amazing meal. It was put together very quickly. All he had to do was heat and serve, and toss the salad. And before you knew it, we had 60, 70 meals out the door, and it was a lovely experience. And we had a photographer on site, and she was taking pictures of the meal being produced, and then went upstairs and saw the meals going into cars, and came back down with tears in her eyes saying, this is really incredible. So to see it go full circle is lovely.
Yeah, it was nice to be with you last night, Cathy. And, I think of Minnesota Central Kitchen as like multiple wins on the board. It's not only helping partners like Cathy meet the growing need and make sure we are helping our hungry neighbors, It is creating new partnerships that may outlast this crisis, which we're looking forward to when we can think a little bit further ahead. I think that the partnerships are fabulous. And I take comfort in knowing, you know, the bright spot in all of this is how we've all come together and thought creatively about how we address this needs, but all these needs, both Cathy and Ekta have shown that they're adjusting their operations, they're accepting food from different, you know, in different formats, emergency food boxes, more prepared food. But I think with Minnesota Central Kitchen too, you know, we are, the partnership with the hospitality industry is putting people back to work when they need it most and giving folks a purpose day to day. And we've put 100 workers back in kitchens, working kitchens, and more to come on that. And that's a small slice of the so many hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans who are out of work right now, but we're trying to do our part and make sure those folks get paid while they're helping the community. So it's a win-win-win on so many fronts, and we're really grateful for the partnerships.
Perfect. Thanks so much. We also have a question from Kelly Smith from the Star Tribune. She's wondering if the new efforts are sustainable to maintain for many months if this crisis continues through the summer. Are there other new efforts you're considering implementing if the need keeps growing?
So maybe I'll take that, and I think everyone can probably answer that in their own way, but thanks for the question, Kelly. Good to hear from you. And so we're evaluating every single day to make sure we are meeting the need as best we can and being as creative as we can. So right now we're focused on ramping up more kitchens for Minnesota Central Kitchen, which will just amp up those numbers more, which again is a portion of what Cathy and her team distribute, but a really important portion. So by the end of next week, I think the Minnesota Central Kitchen will be at about 30,000 meals a week. And we think that'll rise. It's sustainable if we have the financial resources. So we all need financial resources like crazy. We have seen this community be so generous with us. And we need them to continue to dig a little deeper to help us through this crisis. And it's just the bottom line. We need financial resources more than almost anything else right now, all three of our organizations. We're also, a couple of other things, I think as the food shelves that we are working in close partnership have adjusted their operations to do more drive-through and pickup and walk-through. We have adjusted to provide more and more shelf-stable emergency food boxes. Those are coming in the thousands now, and so we'll get those into the community as quickly as we can. We have, we source a few weeks ahead, so we're in good shape there. We see the supply chain strengthening, although it's a little bottlenecked right now for us, but we do see it strengthening, and that is good news. We're also we've had conversations about what people need. And so to source according to our needs now, sometimes that means more shelf-stable food versus produce, but we still have tons of produce. We're doing drops every weekend and adding produce to those emergency boxes whenever we can. So making sure that the partners that we work with so closely, all the food shelves and meal programs in our service area have, that we're sourcing to meet their needs. Bottom line, Kelly, we need financial resources. We all need financial resources to do that. That will make it sustainable. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. We've benefited from some state money lately, which is very appreciated. That is a Band-Aid when I think about the long-term consequences of this crisis. So we are so appreciative to Governor Walz and the state legislature that they have worked on a bipartisan basis. We need continued help, and we will be working with our partners at Hunger Solutions as they do so much advocacy on behalf of the Food Shelf Network, but working to measure those needs into the future, because that's how we need the public and private forces to work together to support this community.
Yeah, this is Ekta from CAPI. I just want to echo what Allison just said. I think there's tons of resources is needed if this is a long term and it goes for months. I think number one priority, basic need food, comes as the biggest need in the community, apart from housing and shelter. And we want to make sure every Minnesotan has food in their pantry. And, you know, kids are off from school. I know schools are working really hard to provide the meal, but I'm hearing like stories from our staff and our, I think they're grateful they can work from home because of there's no childcare, there's no school. Some families don't have, you know, internet and computer at home. So it's getting really hard for families, and then providing meal all the time at home to children, it's really hard. So they are making decisions whether they pay their rent or they pay, you know, drive their car to the food shop for the gas. So I think it's a very critical time. If we can stand together and continue as we are doing, we definitely need like resource and donation and volunteers, because a lot of the time for us is going around making a food delivery to a lot of seniors who are, you know, kind of in isolation, and I think high risk, they cannot come outside. So we want to make sure they're safe and healthy. So there's a lot of need for volunteers, like volunteer drivers, and we have a lot of folks coming out and helping. You know, I know people are working from home, but 1 hour of driving around, that can help a family, especially a senior. So I'm just urging that, you know, this is, I think we can defeat this crisis together, and making sure people are healthy, and they'll be healthy if they have food at home and they have health, you know, at Second Harvest, you know, they're working towards providing fresh produce too with along the boxes. I think it's very important, people staying home, they have enough resources that they can stay longer and healthier. And I think that's very important. And making sure that we are open to the community and asking other food shelves and resources. So it's a time to come together, work together. I think we can do it. It just needs some resources. It's a time issue, and we want to make sure. And I also want to say, you know, CAPI has 28 staff. We speak 11 different languages. And 60–80% of the clientele are limited English. So there are other needs that's coming along with food, is like, you know, just applying for public benefits and unemployment. One thing I would say is, we are shifting our staff and their roles, and we want to make sure everyone understand that they are continuing to do their day-to-day job, but they're also providing help at the food shelf. And that was not in their job description. That was not required to do them, because they have their other duties. But we are asking, and we are telling our contracts, our managers, and everyone that'll happen, and that'll continue until we defeat this crisis. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ekta. All right, we have one last question from Tamara with the City of Minneapolis. She's curious if you've looked into food delivery options and additional sites. So I think this is probably reflecting back on how we're going to get food out across the state. And so Allison, maybe you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, and I think Cathy raised her hand too. Maybe unmute Cathy. I don't have the all-powerful unmute button. Cathy, you want to dive in first?
Yeah, I just, I want to echo what Ekta had said, is that, you know, food is medicine for us. And so it's really important that it does stay fresh, and that we can source that food. And to Kelly's question, is this sustainable? Yes, if the food keeps coming in, it's sustainable. Our employees are working. With that said, we also really need to keep them healthy. And that's super important to me, that our staff is healthy, not only physically, but mentally. So Kelly, we can have a deeper conversation there. As far as delivery goes, I was on a call with our director of operations yesterday, and delivery is a little tricky. We have had a lot of phone calls of people that want a delivery of a meal. And so a conversation with the Richfield mayor just yesterday is if we can deploy volunteers that can come and grab the meal and deliver it immediately, you know, that's an option. So we're not saying no to deliveries. We're saying, let's think and dream about what that looks like, and is it sustainable, and is it safe?
Yeah. And I know, Cathy, you all have thought through and jumped at the chance to provide meals at different areas as well during this crisis. I will just note for people tuning in, we are all, it's very impressive, this network. We're really nimble and we're trying to meet the need in different ways. So if that means different distribution methods, that's what it means. If it means new sites, like Cathy and her team have popped up a few new sites, or just met people on the streets, that's what it means. And so be assured that we have our minds are open. We are being creative every single day to try and meet this need in new ways as it evolves.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us so much. We appreciate it. Please keep your eyes peeled for an invitation to next week's conversation.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.